Hey, what's up, everyone? This Reader's Digest has finally arrived, and it's the one that appeared in the yard and had been rained on for days, mowed up by the county, but yet it still remained, and pieces of it are still appearing. I was finding pieces of it in the yard, and on the side of the yard where it's next to the road. And interestingly enough, it has all of these deities on it. You've got the Mayan and Zeus. I think that's Zeus, but it's Greek and Mayan or Native American Indian, Egyptian, more Mayan. I assume Mayan. It's either Mayan or Egyptian, but I don't know which one. And then you've got this Chinese, and then another Greek-looking deity there, and it's like a message. That's the way I took this magazine appearing. And whoever sent it, there was a leaf right there pressed up against it, so there was a leaf on there. That's interesting. So I ordered it. I went ahead and ordered it. It just now got here. I ordered it back on May 30th, I think, and it had all of this on here. And check out some of the things that are in here. There will always be a crisis. That's one of the articles. And what's going on right now? You've got a crisis. Always some crisis. It started out with every election there was H1N1, and then there was the swine flu, that was the swine flu. Then there was the Ebola, and then Zika, and then this. And then you've got the crises they kept creating, the racial tensions, and that's in here as well. That is in this. And behind the terror in African Angola, reversion to savagery, the strange American policy, all kinds of articles. Now, if you look at the messages, 1961, you turn 1961 upside down, you get 1961. It's like a parallel. It's like a message. And then a number, it arrived at 1218. And then if you look up angel number 1218, it's like saying you're more powerful than you think, and you are a messenger, putting what you put out there, the positivity, the energy that you put out, you'll receive. This book even talked about consciousness, and it's like speaking. It's like the heavens are speaking to me. You've got God speaking to me, and then all the gods on this magazine, and then you've got these messages. There will always be a crisis. Now let me read a little bit about the crisis, and also there's a lot of ME related stuff. VW, Volkswagen. You've got Charles Schultz in here. Let me find where I was talking about. I don't want to mess it up. All right. This was also their 40th year. And what happened in the Bible, the 40 days, 40 nights, 40 is a significant number. I just found so many messages given to me through this magazine that appeared in our yard, and then I decided I needed to order the magazine. It talked about how there will always be a crisis. Now let me read a little bit about it to you. Back then it was the Red China and Russia, and it says international life since World War II has been for the United States and its allies a succession of big and little crises, nearly all of them manufactured. See, that's a key word right there. Manufactured. These crises, manufactured. This is a message, in my opinion. I feel like that this is a message from the heavens, from God, saying that this is all manufactured. Then you had, when Trump became president, you had they had to do the investigation of the Russia probe, and then they had to make sure whether he was really legitimately president. Then they found out there was nothing from that. Then they went into the Stormy Daniels crap investigation. And then they went into the Mueller/Mueller whatever report, and then they went into impeachment, and that impeachment didn't work. Then they found there was no obstruction of Congress, obstruction of justice. Then they had to come up with something else. Then right when they said they were going to have him impeached in December, what happened in December? Coronavirus spreads. Then after that, racial tension. Let's start a race war, right? It's always something. And that's what this is telling me. Anyway, under mounting pressure for submission or compromise, one question is always uppermost in discussion. But it talked about how there will always be, once more we begin to improvise a response in frantic haste. Consultations among the Allies proceed under mounting pressure. But it's saying that there will always be a manufactured crisis, a little big and little manufactured crises worldwide. Then it was always blamed on Soviet Russia and Red China. On China, the optimists, normally an overwhelming majority, return to complacency. Though we treat every crisis as an isolated piece of trouble, the periodic eruptions are in fact parts of a long-term communist design, and what do we see right now? Communism spreading worldwide. Elements to what students of Red Cold War methods rightly call strategy of crisis. They said there will always be another Berlin crisis. They said it's the latest Berlin crisis in a series of crises that constantly spread worldwide. In either case, the one certainty is there will always be another Berlin crisis. In any one of these, any one of the 500 sore spots on the face of the globe. They said there will always be it'll serve some large purpose to keep us off balance. Every individual crisis has an immediate communist objective, but it also serves large purposes, a large purpose, to keep us off balance. Every crisis serves a purpose to keep us off balance, to divert attention from other areas, to drive a wedge between Western allies. Almost always, the crisis is something that we would consider insignificant, insufficient to justify a military showdown, but serious enough to soak up our attention, constantly keep us distracted, right? Our attention and our energies leaving little to spare in other areas of conflict. The strategy of crisis compels us to rush from fire to fire, too engrossed in the immediate peril to deal with the source of the conflagration. The incendiaries are left free to ignite the next crisis at a place and time of their own selection. Now, what does this tell you? This is exactly what we're seeing happen today. Hello, Maui. Egyptian Mao. Anyway, I want to go ahead and keep this as short as I possibly can. But there will always be another Berlin crisis. Basically, there will always be another created crisis. Whenever there's a compromise, it always results in the net gain for the communists. And we're seeing a lot of communism take over now. We have scored many such victories. Stalin was prevented from grabbing a chunk of Iran. The bold Truman Doctrine kept Greece from going communist. And now they actually promote communism, so it's really crazy. And this is like speaking about what's going on now to me. You can read some of this if you want to. I'm going to keep it short. Let's see. It's political blackmail. A game of political blackmail. The communists exploit. And back then they blamed everything on the communists, but now it's like a worldwide agenda. The inherent pacifism of rich Comfort living democracies, their word for it is decadence. They do not hesitate to provoke a crisis on the very edge of the brink. Because we are ourselves, we have assured them that the West will never start a war. They are in complete control of the crisis and can raise and lower the temperature at will. Now think about what message that gives today. This is a message that I'm getting a message in this magazine. I'm getting multiple messages from the heavens. Thus, that's why all of these various gods were on the picture, were on the cover, and then you have all of these messages being given to the Times, and then they talked about racial tensions. It talked about this, about there will always be a crisis, and what's going on right now? More crisis. And it actually talked about the, you can read this yourself here. I don't have time. I'm going to have to shorten it, but it's something that I've always been interested in, how all of this unfolded. And for the first time in history, they said that the Soviets and its allies cannot hope to overcome the strategy of crisis until they recognize the totality and continuity of the challenge. Unless the West does assume the offensive, unless we create our own sphere of action, they said that there will always be a Berlin crisis. There will always be another created crisis. We shall contain it in some places, make peaceful surrenders in others, make piecemeal surrenders in others, but we will never move forward. On the contrary, they said we will continue to retreat. And then this right here was really sad. You can read that right there. The B-bomb. And then right after is, you are tougher than you think. It's an inspirational message. I'll let you read. I'll let you go ahead and pause this video so you can read it for yourself. Go ahead and pause it right here and you can read this article. And now I'm going to go to the next page. And then the common cold. Now think about what's going on right now. A cold, a virus, a major virus going on. Right after this is this article. And then you've got it here saying, let me go ahead and read the conclusion of this. That thought in large letters in your consciousness. Consciousness. Practice until it becomes part of you. The conviction that there is a God-given supply of strength within you. If you've been taking a dark view of things, muster up the character and look deeply into yourself. Perhaps your spiritual muscles have grown soft enough through neglect. If so, they should be exercised and developed until you can begin to see the bright view. Practice seeing yourself not as weak, vacillating, but as strong, controlled, and purposeful. This poet here describes a very well right thinking can mean what it can mean to you. Man is what he thinks, not what he says, reads, or hears. Be persistent, thinking that you can undo any condition which exists. You can free yourself from any chains, whether of poverty, sin, ill health, unhappiness, or fear. Remember, you can indeed be a tough-minded optimist. And then it goes on here. They have several other things. You can read this right here. This kind of a joke but truthful thing there. Let me go on to show you some other things in this magazine. I'm going to save these here. This was about Africa and the people of Africa. For 400 years, it talked about the Portuguese. They were in Angola for more than 400 years. And you're hearing a lot about 400 years right now. They said that race relations rather better. Actually, I'm going to let you go ahead and let me go ahead and I don't have much time on this. I'll let you go ahead and read this for yourself. Let's see if I can do that. Let me zoom out. Can you... Let me see if you can read this. Right there, the left page, and the right one there. You can pause it and you can read it yourself. But they talk about people coming together and a mixture of terrorism, the fetishism stirred by the communists and the Africans from other countries. But I want to go ahead and they said it's all propaganda. And I'll read some of this another time. It was all about kill, kill. That's what they kept telling people to do there. The Congo and everywhere, they told people to kill, kill. And that's all they bored into their mind, was just to kill. I'll let you go ahead and read this as well. You can pause it and read the page. That's why I've got it paused here. But you can pause and read some of it. But I want to go ahead and tell you just a little bit about how it seems to relate so much to the times we live now. They talk about the country in the midst of its economic upsurge, and they have come to substantial advancements in living conditions and education. And this was in 1961. The potentials are breathtaking. In time, Angola could support a population of 40 million. Portugal is actively seeking immigrants for permanent settlement. Capital and technical brains are flowing in from Germany, Sweden, and Italy, and other countries. Rio de Janeiro, they said it reminded me of Rio de Janeiro. It was so beautiful. The capacious crescent-shaped harbor was built entirely in the last 15 years, and that was in 1961. New Lisbon, 40,000 blacks and 7,000 whites live in impressive harmony. Now that is amazing that it's talking about all of these things that are happening right now in this magazine about a created crisis, and then there's an illness, and then it's talking about all the ME stuff in there as well, but then also, most importantly, harmony, unity amongst people, the created crises that took place, and then the unity. They live together in harmony. Seemingly, they said, the libido's magnificent port... Libidos? Yeah, okay, libidos, but lobitos, whatever, libido, I'll call it lobito. Magnificent port is busy and crowded with commerce. The booming harbor city, Benguela, is home to 10,000 blacks and 5,000 whites and has served Africa well for 400 years. They said it's similar to the quality of New Orleans, or New Orleans, depending on where you're from. They said the smaller, the cities in the interior, smaller, but they have the same look and feel of modernity and expansion. Wherever I went outside the stricken, terrorized terror zone, I watched blacks, whites, and mixed living, working, studying, and playing together. As in all Portuguese lands where there are no color lines, no Jim Crow segregation, only economic and social distinctions based on economic status, levels of civilization. The race hatreds now being stirred up are largely alien and a wholly sinister visitation. Most of the whites, the mulattoes, and a fair percentage of blacks live on large plantations and industrial undertakings under enlightened management that provides housing, food, education, and health facilities unique for Africa. Many of the housing projects, hospitals, and schools and sports fields that he visited would cause for pride in Europe and America. And they talked about the missionary work, the economy, the health, education, religion, and spent many of the days visiting diamond fields, coffee and cotton plantations, sugar fields, and refineries, and big breweries, paper mills, electric dams. They said that if these great enterprises were being run by communist state trusts rather than private capital or capitalists, they would be universally celebrated as socialist achievements. But instead, they're being run by capitalists. This is what's going on today, and we see it in this magazine as a message to me to share with others. And I feel like that this is a message for me to share to others. I'll share this in another video, but they talk about people getting along and coming together. Created crisis, and then you have how people should be living, getting along in unity instead of all of the created crisis and divide. And then you've got this on the front. It's like a message from God. And then you turn that up, turn that over, and you get 1961. Either way you look, it's like a message, in my opinion. It's a message. And it's a message of unity. It's a message of unity. So anyway, peace, signing out. I wanted to share this, and I really hope that others get to see this. I'm going to go ahead and let you pause it, and you can read this page for yourself because I don't have time. I have one more minute here to record, and then I'm going to move on. Signing out, and peace. Much love, everyone. This truly is a message for me to share.